Okay, hello, I'm David, and welcome to the SPED730 reflection assignment. Question 1. What do I know about learning? Well, we know that learning begins very early, perhaps even in the womb, and that it continues until we are no longer alive. It is something that we all do differently. We have different methods of learning that work better for us and different methods that don't work so well for us, so we all learn differently. It's a constant interplay where we take in information from the environment and any gaps or guesses that we have, we fill those in, sometimes correctly, sometimes incorrectly, so we know that learning is not a perfect thing. There are requirements in the classroom as far as optimally learning. We know that we need to feel safe and that there should be some food in our tummies, that we are well rested and don't have any crises going on in our personal lives, or that we're able to manage those effectively. Basically, our hierarchy of needs is being met. The goal of learning, at least in the classroom setting, is to become independent, to be in charge of our learning, and to be able to use that in some meaningful way to contribute to society, that then we can drive some great joy for the rest of our lives. Number 2. How can I apply this information to my practice? Well, it starts with creating an ideal learning environment that is safe and nurturing, that has structure, and that structure is then obvious to our learners. Of course, they're not the only ones doing assessment, or we're not the only ones doing assessment. They're going to test us after the honeymoon was over. They want to see if I break those rules now that I know them. Is that climate, that learning environment, and that culture in the classroom or the school going to hold up? Am I going to be treated fairly even if I break a rule, and what happens then? So there's this interplay that I think is what education is, where we're taking in information, measuring it against what we already know, and then filling in the gaps. And so as an educator, starting as soon as we begin the pre-teaching strategies, the accessing and linking to prior knowledge, we're actively looking for their perceptions, whether they be correct and we can reinforce those, or maybe they're incorrect or incomplete and we can help fill in the gaps or correct those as best we know. We want to monitor those ongoing, even while we're teaching. We're creating in opportunities in our discussions and in our learning for us to see their thought processes and make comments about those and help them improve those strategies metacognitively. We also need to provide, we know that research says we need to provide a series of meaningful, memorable learning experiences that allow them to tie in factual knowledge to the big picture concept in a way that allows them to make sense of it in real world terms and apply it to real world situations, and that recalls some making connections, like we talked about what experts do in any given field, and that also allows for faster recall and longer memory. We can remember things for a longer period of time and recall them effectively. We want to engage in all of those meaningful learning experiences so that we can do those things, and we need to provide those experiences for our learners in the classroom. What are the main points of this module? Well, I think providing meaningful experiences is a big one. The fact that assessment is not something that we do just at the beginning and the end with a pre-test, post-test, but it's an interplay, it's a constant exchange that has to do with what learning really is. And so we're constantly creating options for them to show their thinking, and then to help refine those thinking strategies, as well as reinforcing their correct assumptions and maybe correcting the ones that were incomplete or not quite right. So yeah, we want to give them metacognitive strategies so that they are, not only so that they're showing their work and we can see what they're thinking, but also because that's what ultimately leads to independence. When you are able to think about strategies or think about your learning and make it your own, that's when we have a chance to get a learner to gain some independence, going back to the fact that the goal of education is for them to be able to educate themselves in the real world, take in information, critically think about it, and to do that without us as professionals, or without parents always having to step in and say, this is what's right, this is what's wrong, this is the best idea, this is a not so good idea. We want to assessment, oh, I talked about that already. Taking charge, oh, cool, I'm done. Number 4, what are some questions that I still have about learning? Although I'm in this program getting my master's and I've been a teacher, this is my 9th year, it's my 2nd year in special education. I taught music before that. That's what my degree is, in music education. So there are some pedagogical questions, not necessarily about what learning is though. But I don't know, maybe a quirky kind of thing. I wonder too, neurologically, what's going on? What are the processes in the brain that we call learning, that we see in our world as learning? And of course, I am interested in the topics that are coming up, not only in this course, but in other courses. So number 5, about which subjects do I want to learn more? Man, if someone just sat me down and talked to me all day about the newest learning strategies and teaching strategies, that would be cool. I could handle someone throwing new stuff at me all day, all evening in my free time, so that I could constantly take those back to work with me the next day. So they're mostly pedagogical and strategy specific, but in the bigger context, one of the questions, or a few of the questions that I have are, well, they come from a presenter that I saw, a principal of another school, and she said, in her lifetime, we have taken special needs from the asylums into the classrooms, and students with disabilities are no longer treated as if they cannot learn, but we have great strategies for teaching them to overcome those disabilities, and those strategies are improving every day. So she said to us, if we can do that in my lifetime, imagine what it's going to be like when you guys are ready to retire in 30 or 40 years. And so that's the question, where are we going and how do we get there? And I'm very curious about what my colleagues think about that and what the professors think about that, and especially, how do we get there? What do we need to do in order to take special education to the next level? So I think that's all. Thanks so much, and I look forward to continued learning in this class and the rest of them throughout our program. Take care.